Hi everybody, I'm Cynthia and welcome back to Healthyish Recipes. Today we're going to do a banana pumpkin pecan bread that I wrote for us, and it's going to have a brown butter glaze. So good. So that's what we're going to do today. I think I'm going to call it actually pumpkin banana pecan bread with brown butter glaze, because even though it has banana in it, the banana was just there for the moisture and to make it nice and soft and fluffy, and the dreaded word moist. Yes, I use that word. So we're going to start off, we're going to cream some butter. It's going to be 1 stick or a half a cup of butter, and we're just going to cream it. And to that, we are going to add brown sugar. Brown sugar also, not only for the flavor, it has molasses in it. You can use light or dark, whichever one you want, but it also adds moisture to the recipe as well, instead of white sugar. So that's one of the reasons why. Plus, I like the flavor. It really does give it a really good flavor. So we have that, and then I have 1 banana. We're going to put that in and let the mixer do the work, so bear with me while I mix this up. Pardon the noise. And you just want to mix it until it's creamed and the butter and the bananas are massacred, or actually thoroughly mixed in. Alright, once that's in, we're going to add 2 eggs, and they can be both added at the same time. 1 egg. Of course, I get messy. I'm messy in the kitchen, but I do clean up my messes, so that's good. Unlike my husband, he will cook for us, but the messes have to be cleaned. All right, gonna mix that. Perfect. Okay, the next portion of the recipe is pumpkin. For this, you're gonna add 1 cup, which this is the smallest can, which is 15 ounces. And actually, it's going to be 3/4 of a can of the 15-ounce can, because I did all the measuring when I wrote this recipe and I figured that out. Alright, we're going to also add, this is 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and I just want to show you guys. This is my vanilla. It says bourbon vanilla extract. October of 2019. I made this last year. I used 4 or 5 vanilla beans to 2 cups of bourbon, and you let it sit in a nice cool dark place, shake it up every couple days, and let it age, and in as early as 8 weeks, it's the best vanilla you've ever had. So I totally recommend making your own homemade vanilla. So good. All right, so let's get back to this. So we added the 1 cup of pumpkin, and we're gonna add, with this recipe, I use pumpkin spice mix. And the pumpkin spice mix that I have at my house, it has cinnamon, ginger, and allspice. But I also like clove, so I wanted to add that. So we have 2 teaspoons of the pumpkin spice, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of clove. You don't want to go crazy on the clove. It is very strong, so I would not recommend anything more than the 1/4 cup. No, 1/4 teaspoon. All right, and then we're just gonna mix that in. All right, and then try not to make messes. It's inevitable. It's inevitable with me. All right, so we have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. I just put the salt in with the baking powder. Get that all in there. And then you just want to add this while you're mixing in batches. I'm just going to stir it up to get all of that in there. And then add half of it. And then mix it in. And then we'll add the rest of the flour. And go ahead and add the rest of the flour. And the rest I'm going to hand mix it, just so we don't want to over mix it with the mixer. Just it can make it tough. You know, you're going to activate that gluten in the flour, and it will make it tough if you over mix it. All right. And the last thing we're going to add is a half a cup of pecans. I have them, they're crushed or in pieces. And then we're just going to fold that in. And the great thing about this recipe is it's really simple, really quick to mix up a batch. The time, there is a time factor, and that's the cooking. It does take a bit to cook because it is a rather large bread. So that's it. That is how easy it is to mix it up. Then we're gonna take our, sorry for all the noise. We're gonna take our loaf pan, and I already sprayed it, sprayed it with some oil, just so it'll release well. And then I'm gonna put this in here, and then we're gonna bake it in a 350 degree oven, Fahrenheit, and it is gonna bake for 60 to 70 minutes. I know, a long time, but like I said, it's a huge bread, huge. So also it varies too. I'm using a glass pan. If you use a dark metal pan, the time you might have to decrease it. So it just varies with what cooking vessel you're using, and your stove too. I mean, when I went to check on my stove to see if it was heated up, it dinged that it was heated up, and I looked in my oven for the temperature, because I have a thermometer. It said it was only 325. So you have to adjust, and I do recommend getting a thermometer for your oven, because even brand new ovens, they can vary, and that throws it off. When you're baking, you really want to have your temperature dead on. So let me just pour this in here. Look at that. It's nice and gooey and thick, but it comes out really fluffy and light. And you can actually turn this into a cake too, or like, ooh, a bundt cake, a coffee cake. That would be really good. It doesn't have to be in a loaf, but you would have to play with the times on that, because of course putting this in a loaf pan, that's going to change the time. And there you go. So I'm going to go pop this in the oven for 60 to 70 minutes. For me, in my oven, it took 70 minutes. So we will see you when it's ready. Okay, while the pumpkin banana pecan bread is in the oven baking, we're going to make the browned butter glaze for it. So in the pan, I have 1 stick of butter, which is a half a cup, and you put it on medium-low heat and let it start cooking. Okay, see, it's starting to melt, and you're going to watch over it. Unfortunately, you need to really look and watch this, because the milk fat solids that are in the butter, that's what's going to brown. It's going to give it a nice nutty flavor, but it can burn from 1 second to the next. So you really do want to, oops, you really do want to keep your eye on it. I'm so sorry, all of these noises. I did say I was a klutz, and that I'm a dirty, messy cook. All right, so it's all right. So now it's starting to bubble and fry. And it's gonna take like 5 minutes, which you're probably not gonna wanna watch me for 5 minutes doing this, because it's like watching water boil, except for it's watching butter boil. So I'm gonna let this cook away for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna come back once it is browned, and I will show you how to make the glaze. Okay, so the butter is now browned, and once it turns, it literally looks like the color of maybe tea or bourbon, or actually if you get past the foam of the butter, it turns into kind of that color, like a nice tawny brown color, and then you know that it's ready, and then you turn the heat off and take it off the heat, or you're gonna burn it. So once the butter is browned, then you cool it a little, and for the sake of television, we're gonna pretend that it's cooled, and we're gonna continue on making the glaze. So once that's in there, we have 1 cup of powdered sugar right here. And now the recipe calls for anywhere from 1 to 1.5 cups of powdered sugar to the 1 stick of butter. That's just because depending on the humidity of the day, you may need more sugar or less sugar if it's, if you live in a dry, arid desert. So we're gonna add that in. Get that all in there, and once the powdered sugar is mixed in, you're gonna see that brown caramel color. Ooh, yes. Yes. All right, once this is all mixed in, ooh, it smells so good. It smells like caramel, essentially. And I'm gonna move over here to this burner to completely take it off the heat. All right. Now I put in that 1 cup of powdered sugar, and it's still a little bit thick. So what you can do is add milk to thin it out, and that's what we're going to end up doing, because this right now is too thick to be a glaze. It's more like a frosting. But this is what it looks like. You can see there's little bits, and that's the brown milk solids that have become brown and toasted and really good. So that's for the glaze, and we're gonna add a little bit of milk to this before I glaze it, but the bread is still in the oven cooking. So once that's done, I will be back and I'll show you the finished product, okay? All right, we'll see you then. Hi, we're back. The bread finished cooking in the oven, and I ended up glazing it off camera. But I just wanted to show you the brown butter glaze. This is the consistency that you want, and you can just glaze it. I don't like a lot of glaze, so this is enough for me to glaze this one. And actually we have another one that's cooking. I cooked this earlier in the day, so we would have this ready. So, yep, so let's recap the ingredients in the recipe for the pumpkin banana pecan bread with brown butter glaze. It is 1.5 cups of flour, 1 cup of brown sugar, either dark or light, 1 stick or 1/2 cup of butter softened, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 2 eggs, and you essentially just mix all of that up, and then add the 1/2 cup of pecans at the end and fold it in. Put it in a loaf pan and bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 60 to 70 minutes depending on your oven, and if you use dark baking pan or a glass baking pan, because that can affect the timing of how long you're going to cook it. I would check at 40 minutes just because, you know, your oven could be different than mine. And so let's have a try. Let's have a try. So of course take a piece with the glaze, and the glaze sets up nicely. Yes, I think I did good. You guys have to try the recipe and let me know how it turned out for you. Okay? Alright, that's it for today's show. Thank you very much for joining me. Please subscribe and like the video if you do like it, and comment down below what your favorite pumpkin recipes for this time of year. And we will be seeing you next time. Don't forget, hit the like button and subscribe. And we will see you next time. And everybody have a great Halloween.